Hi everyone, welcome back to Swans Cast. I believe this is our 7th one for the season, so they're flying, going quick and coming quick and fast. What have we been up to this week then, Lee? It's been probably not so long since we did the last one, as we recorded it quite late last week, but nonetheless, how was your weekend?
Yeah, bad. Started
Other
off
than the
well with the
obvious.
football, and then watched the boxing in the night, and then that
What did
was
you
it.
make of
Then
the
Sunday
boxing?
then is always just yeah, it was a good fight. I thought I really enjoyed it as a spectacle. I thought the fight was really good, and then Anthony Joshua proper lost his head after the match, to the fight.
Do you think
Proper lost his head.
Do you think he's finished after that? Like,
Uh,
where does he go from here?
It's hard because he's been on that. He's just been almost at the top. It seems like all his career, isn't it? Like he seems to have started on the top. He had all his hype, done really well, and then he's lost like the two big fights really against Usyk. So I don't know where he goes from here. I'd like to see him just fight someone now like Wilder. We always wanted to see that fight. Still haven't had it, so go and fight Wilder.
Just for the bants,
and then, well, just to shut up the critics, I guess, because we always wanted that fight when Joshua had all the belts and Wilder had the other one, and we never had it until Fury obviously went and took it off him. But I think he should fight Wilder. That'd be a big fight.
Do you think he'll ever fight Fury?
I don't know. I know it's like with boxing. We never see it too. It's been the obvious fight for ages, but it's never happened. So I'd love to see it, but I still doubt it'll ever happen.
Money the problem, or just they're not bothered?
I probably. I don't know what goes on. It's the same with like Pacquiao, isn't it? And Mayweather. They should have had that. That should have been 10 years before it happened, and they just waited till the end when Pacquiao was like finished, basically.
Yeah. Well. I mean, maybe Anthony Joshua put up a better fight than the Swans against Usyk, but wonder if did he lose his head in quite similar ways to some of the comments Russell Martin might be making? I'm wondering. Does it just come with losing?
Maybe. In all fairness, though, I think. Maybe. In all fairness, though, I think if you, we say like you can't do like a podcast after a game because your emotions are so high. Imagine losing a fight and having to do that in the ring.
Yeah, but I thought you didn't have to do the you didn't have to grab the microphone, did he?
No,
he kind of just chucked his belts on the floor and went off on one.
Yeah,
I don't know what that was all about. Like, a bit weird.
Yeah.
Oh man, my bet's definitely not coming in. I think.
So what is it?
Well, it's 93 minutes and I need a goal, and it's just one of them, and it teased you with the cash out. You think it's going to fly in, but then it never happens. Always the way. Anyway, let's actually get on to the football. But before we get on to it, as always, thanks to everyone for the continued support. We had a good season so far. It's been nice to read everyone's comments. A couple of people putting their 3-word reviews in the comments of the video, so keep that going. Unfortunately, they haven't been the most positive, but that's understandable. We'll get on to ours shortly. But if you haven't subscribed already, please click the big red button down the bottom. I want to say bottom right of your screen, underneath where Lee is, probably. Helps us grow as a channel. We want to try and get to 1,000 whenever we get there, really, so as quick as possible. And leave a like as well, because that helps us grow. It helps more people find our content. So click the big thumbs up and click the big red subscribe button. Anyway, onto the football. So where do we start with this one? Do you want to go first with your 3 words?
Yeah. Before I rant on, am I lagging? No, I'm in sync.
I think you're right now. I think there was maybe a couple of moments when you were talking earlier that it was a little bit delayed, but it seems okay for a minute.
All right, I'll go with it, and you might have to cut me off in my prime.
Yeah, so if there is a bit of a gap between us, I think we're having some technical difficulties, but we'll live with it. So go on with your 3 words then.
Yeah, let's go. So my first word is problems, obviously. And then as a little subhead, my other 2 words are owners and manager as like a head-to-head. That's my 3 words.
Okay, so problems, why?
Wow.
I didn't manage to watch all of the games, so...
So the problems is, obviously there's problems behind the scene, but in this case I'm just referring to the problems on the pitch at the moment. I said in the last podcast that I thought we were on the edge of something. I said it's either going to click into place and we're going to go for a bit of a ride, or I feel like we're on could go off the edge of a cliff. And that game on Saturday was a resounding falling off the cliff, because it was horrendous. I said that the Blackburn game was one of the worst games I've ever seen us play, and I think Luton, that game on Saturday, was close, run it close. It was awful. Again,
as bad as the Blackburn game, or like the same? Or...
Yeah, I'd say it was as bad. Yeah, I think it was the same. I think it was as bad.
From what perspective? Like attacking, defending, just everywhere? Because Russell Martin saying they're playing well.
Yeah, all of it. It's the same. It's the same story.
Playing well in between the boxes.
Yeah, I'm fed up with the excuses now as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm fed up with those rubbish excuses now. Yeah. We played well we played well for 5 minutes in the game. And for that 5 minutes, we were brilliant, and we would have beaten any team, and all this rubbish that comes out with. I just think it's the same old story. We have all his possession. Unless they play with intensity like they did against Millwall, which I don't think they can replicate game in, game out. I think the style is set up that it has to be played with an intensity, and when they do that, it does seem to work better. But if they haven't got that edge, where it's a short turnaround from Tuesday to Saturday, if they play without that edge in that style of football that he wants to play, they just hung out to dry. It was so easy for Luton. And that was the frustrating thing, is that teams don't even seem to have to work hard to win down here at home. Now, we should be really, really hard to beat at home. It should, as everyone should be. But Blackburn and Luton have come down here, and they haven't had to work hard. There's a template to play against us. They didn't have to break a sweat. I don't think the goalkeeper made a save of note. I think he made one that was straight down his throat. He just did, he didn't have to do anything.
Should have scored, I think, right at the start. Don't know if you recall that.
No, I can't remember. that. But even so, the chances are hard to find.
Him in, and he just can't get out from his feet. But he's in the box, and he probably should. I think he buries that last year.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's another issue we'll probably come on to later with Barrow, because he's definitely not the player he was last year for whatever reason. But just in general, those types of games are just hard to stomach because it's just awful to watch. I mean, you just need a good defensive unit. If you have a disciplined defensive unit, they beat us. We cannot create any chances. We have no answer for it. And teams are scoring easy. They're literally scoring with limited ball. I think I read somewhere that we obviously give up the most chances, per possession, that the opposition has. You'd think that teams would be rusty in the sense that you haven't got the ball all game, so that when they do have the ball, it's limited chances to create stuff. But like Luton yesterday, every time they have the ball, they look like scoring. We could have all the ball for 20 minutes. As soon as Luton get that ball, they look like doing something. I think his Adebayo up front for Luton played about 60 minutes, and he run Cabango ragged.
Yeah, I thought Cabango had quite a poor game. I found it quite weird how Russell Martin defended him a bit in the conference. I'm not saying he should have slated him, but he's been quick to throw a couple of the others under the bus recently, and then he goes and says about Cabango's bravery and how good he is and stuff. And he says something like him and a couple of the others, like Obafemi, are performers at this level now, whereas we need to get some of the others up to being a performer at this level week in, week out. But I thought Cabango was quite poor. He was at fault for, I think,
he was.
Second goal. Maybe not at fault, but ultimately the one-on-one was with him, and he didn't deal with it very well. I don't think he defended the one-on-one very well. The guy shooting with his left foot, and he lets him have the angle. He's not even nowhere near him.
Yeah,
I don't think
it's a good finish.
It was a good finish, yeah, but surely Cabango needs to be in the way a bit more. The way that he's kind of standing up, he's leaving the gap for the shot, and then it just takes the step, pushes the ball forward a bit, and Cabango's not the quickest, is he? So because he's left that gap, he can't get in the way then to block the shot.
Yeah, that first half as well, he was playing on the left side of the three, and he was just exposed completely. Even with the ball at his feet, it was painful. And I'm a big fan of Cabango, but he just looked. Oh my god, he would like the passes. Some of the passes would have went astray. He
Yeah.
looked really uncomfortable.
Well, obviously Norton would normally be there, but he was slightly injured after the Millwall game, even though he brought him on earlier than he wanted to. Nathan Wood. I mean, look, part of the thing we were going to speak about is the sign-ins and was it a good window? Is it not a good window? And then we're going to compare it to some of the other years. We could compare it against other teams in the league, but I haven't got that data today. But it seems a lot of teams have signed a lot of players, not spent much money, but they've signed a lot of bodies on free transfers and stuff. That seems a consistent theme, or loans as well. Whereas our problem area was defence, and that includes centre backs and wing backs. We obviously lost Christie and Wolf through loan ending, but we didn't really replace them. I mean, we got Sorinola in, but I mean, we had to move Ryan Manning to the right-hand side to try and get something out of Sorinola, which didn't work, and then they swapped back, I believe.
Yeah, he started with Sorinola on the left and Manning on the right.
Yeah, so he's putting Sorinola there because I think preferably Sorinola plays on the left, but he's just not giving a tune wherever he's playing.
I don't know where he plays. I really don't. I've not been impressed with him at all. I mean, you give players time, but
no, I haven't either. And if Ryan Manning, as much as I've criticised him for him being a bit of a liability sometimes, and there was a free kick at some point in the first half where he just lets his man go. So he's still capable of having those moments of being a liability. He has been performing well for us in an attacking sense and being one of our better players in that regard. Still not fully convinced on his defensive work, which might be part of our problems. But he has been putting a shift in to an extent when you compare what we've had so far this season. So why do you move him across? When has he ever played on the right for us? Should you keep him consistent where he's playing well and try and work on getting something out of Sorinola if he's the one that's covering Latbodia at the end of the day? I am not fully convinced on that sign-in, which I guess Russell Martin needs to take the flak for because he's from MK Dons ultimately. I know we didn't get him directly from there on this occasion, but that's where the link is. So that's a Martin one. What I was trying to say is comparing it to like the teams with the free transfers, like we did sign defenders, Wood, Darlin, Sorinola, and Joe Allen. So there's 4 players in the first team that we've signed. Joe Allen's like for Flynn Downs, and he was free, okay, but his wages have got to be probably quite high, I'd imagine, for our team.
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe you could say he's been worth it so far out of all of them. But then we spent the biggest fee on Harry Darlin, who he's been all right. He looks like he could go on and be a good player and be an asset, as they're liking to refer to any of our activity or youth development. So about 2 million on Darlin. That's basically our transfer kitty. That's the problem. Yeah, maybe you've brought him in and he's going to be another Flynn Downs where he gets sold on for like 5 times the amount of money, and everyone's happy days going forward in terms of the financial situation. But other clubs have taken the route of not spending any fee, getting more bodies in to like have a bit of depth, get some new faces in, freshen it up.
Yep.
We've got no depth. We've spent all our money. We've got a player that's gone out now for like 4 months injury who, let's be real, the player that's gone on the injury is a square peg in a round hole already. And now we haven't even got another square peg to put in there. And now we can't get someone. Like, it's because we spent all our money on like 4 players. I know we brought a couple of youth players in, but we're not going to see them. Like, we're not going to see them, to be honest. They haven't been on the bench. I don't think they featured in pre-season, so they are in the under 23s. But I'm not referring to those in this instance. But like, I'm not really sure whoever's making decisions on the transfers this season. Yeah, we maybe sorted out centre back a little bit, although you could say maybe we haven't because the problems are still there. But then we haven't got players in certain positions like right back. We've got a left back in Ryan Manning, but you signed Sorinola, but it hasn't worked, and now there's no one else.
But this is I know hindsight is great because when we signed Darlin, we were like, that's that's really good signing. We were lucky to get a player like that, in all fairness, because he came with a bit of pedigree.
Yeah, but we didn't realise at that time that was a cost of like there's nothing else.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So obviously they might have known that behind the scenes. So what I'm saying is we've known this last year that we needed wing backs, and we had Wolf and Christie, like you said, had gone out the window. So the first player through the door this season should have been a wing back. We've known this for ages, and we still know it. So what I'm saying is we brought in, but like we brought in Wood. All right, was another centre half. So did we need to bring in two at the expense of not bringing in wing backs when he's persisting to play with a wing back system?
I would have.
If that is his system,
bring in one and use Brandon Cooper.
Yeah, exactly. You had Brandon Cooper there, who's had a couple of games, and I thought he'd done all right last season.
He's still there, by the way. He hasn't gone out on loan.
Yeah, so if you had, you lost your two wing backs. You lost your two wing backs last season, essentially. Why did you sign two centre halves?
Like Latabodia is technically a centre half as well. Let's not forget.
Yeah, exactly.
As right back, but in terms of depth there, I get it. Bennett's going. Burns obviously went back. Maybe if you sign in Darlin or Wood, like it depends, because you probably pick Darlin, but then the fee is the problem. So
yeah, that's it. Yeah,
and it does give context to why we missed out on players in January like that. O'Reilly that went to Celtic.
Yeah.
I know people were moaning that it wasn't that much more that we had to pay, but this is literally showing that they won't, or there isn't the money there, or whatever the case is. The club is basically operating in itself. There'll be no extra pennies from the owners. And let's be honest, when that is the case, Swansea doesn't generate as much as other clubs, and that's always going to be the case. It was always the case the first time we went up, but I'd argue we were running a better way, and the landscape was a bit different with the financial side of football before it got a bit nuts. We perhaps got a bit lucky that it got nuts while we were in the Prem, but then that also bit us in the bum a little bit when we came back down, and we're still suffering from that. And it doesn't look like there's anyone there that, okay, you could say, give a little bit of credit for the fact that we haven't done worse like other clubs have done and overspent and got ourselves into a problematic position from that aspect. But we're just in a bit of no man's land. I don't really know what the direction is from the owners. And as much as we're probably going to criticize Russell Martin a lot here in this podcast today, and we have done, a lot of people have, and it's all justified for the football and the football side of things, I do have a bit of sympathy for him and any other manager right now, because there is no direction from above. And it must be so hard to come in and do a good job and come in and do your own thing. And like, I think it all comes from the top in a way. Like, you could say, the way Gary Neville speaks from Manchester United, and every manager that goes there has the same problems. Like, we could end up going down that route, the way it seems like it could go, something like that. Not to the same extent, of course, but you get what I'm trying to say. And I know, like I said, we're going to compare against Potter and Cooper. I think both of them left because they saw this coming. Yeah, they both did really well, but I'm going to argue later on that both of them had a much better squad. And not necessarily the much better backing, but then they probably did. But then that's because they had the parachute money, so it's kind of not comparable in that regards. But we'll look at it later. But I think I'm going to argue they have a much better squad. I don't know if you're going to agree or not, but yeah, kind of got lost a little bit there. But yeah, I think trying to make certain.
Well, we may as well go down that route, because my next thing was owners versus manager, because I don't know where you want to start, really, because I know I'm never going to defend our owners. I'll never defend them, because I've moaned for so long. We've come on this podcast after every transfer window, and I've said it's getting dangerous, because every transfer window, I feel like they've sort of weakened the squad since they've come in. I think every transfer window has been like save money, sell, that sort of mentality. So what I say is, like, I'm not defending them at all. Eventually, the way that the way that they want to run the club, I don't think is sustainable. So if they're there for a long period of time, I could see us, going down potentially, or struggling to find managers to come in that want to work under those rules. So that's out there. That's always going to be the case. That's always there. But what I will say is, like, all this has come out now with the owners, because Russell Martin came out at the end. He said what he said after the game. Then he said that they want us to create assets, and basically there's no money to bring anybody else in. However, like, this has been the case all summer. It's been the case. Surely they've known since the beginning of the summer that this was the case, and they knew what money they had to spend. So I don't understand why now, obviously, while the results are going bad on the pitch, that is suddenly blowing up again. It always seems to be the same cycle. We play well, we do all right, it's all quiet, and then as soon as the results start going bad, it's the owners. I'll get the owners out. So I agree. Like, I know the owners are bad, and they are what they are, but it only seems to come into play when we've had bad results on the pitch, and that's what I'm saying about, like, from the fans, but also, like, I feel like from Russell Martin this time, I don't know if he's deflecting the pressure now because it's been so bad on the pitch. I don't know if he's just deflected that as a sort of a clever way to say, like, oh, look, it's not me, look what I'm working with. Do you know what I mean? And he brought on Ollie Cooper for the first time on Saturday. And I don't know if that was a bit of a protest as well for the first time, because they were 2-0 down, the heads were down, everything was gone. And he brought on Ollie Cooper. And I would just think that was a little, look, this is what I've got. And then after the game. Yeah, he looked all right, to be fair. Nothing against him.
For Joe Perot as well, didn't he? He flung a ball back into the box after a corner, and he had a header. Yeah. Again, Perot should have done better with, really.
Yeah, nothing against Ollie Cooper. I just think he hasn't used him so far, and I thought maybe bringing him on now was kind of like, I'm going to go down this route. And then he came out after the game and said, the owners. And
I watched his press conference. I know what you're trying to say, but I don't think necessarily from Martin's perspective, that's what... He didn't really chuck him under the bus. He just said...
No, but it was clever. Yeah, it was clever what he said.
Like, after the Latibodia thing, he said, like, before the Latibodia injury, he did say in a couple of interviews, there's no more money, no more players coming in. He did already say that. So, like, that was already out there. It's just, I think nobody was questioning it until we've seen how poor we've had at the start of the season. Yeah, so like I said, we've talked on the podcast. We were talking about transfers earlier this season, saying it was a good window, but then I think the reality set in a little bit. The two loan players we spoke about, Wolf and Christie, have gone, and you show how much we missed them. There's nothing fresh in the forward area. Obviously, I think Downs has actually been we haven't missed him so much if Alan's going to show the performances, but that's like for like, if anything, not improvement to get me. Like, we have missed Downs, but what I mean is, like, compared to how much we miss in the wing backs, I haven't really felt Downs as, with Alan being there, it's not that much of an issue in comparison. So he said there was no one coming in. Then the Latibodia injury, the interview after that, he did say, I'm going to go and see what we can do and have a conversation with the owner and see if there's anything we can do. I know this is the interview afterwards, and he said, like, we've spoken. And yeah, it is what it is. Someone's got to go before we can get people in. We've got to try and make assets. It's up to us to, like, make the youth players more comfortable and ready for first team action. And, we got to help him out a little bit on all this stuff that he was saying. That says to me there's been conversations since the injury, and they've just said, like, is what it is. And maybe, Martin did know a little bit, but also, like, do we, if it came down to, like, who you believe more, like, I would be inclined with the history to believe that they might have even not necessarily lied to Martin, but told him stuff to keep him happy. But then when it comes to the nitty gritty, he won't actually, like they haven't got the money there, so, like, they're not going to do it. But, like, do you know what I mean? Like, not lied to him, but kind of, like, never also made him feel like there was no money. So he's kind of in a no-win situation. I don't know. I would be more inclined to believe. What I'm trying to say is, if Martin says in an interview, I was under the impression that we would have been able to do something, even if it's a lone player, but now with the board saying no, like, they've changed their tune, I'd be more inclined to believe him rather than the other way around, where the board would say, like, oh, we've told him from the start there was no money. Wouldn't, like, based on their history. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's tough because, it probably looks like he's trying to make excuses and whatever. And like I said, there's other aspects to the football side of things that he should really get criticism for. But I mean, let me chuck this on and we'll have a look at the bench, because Bender they're trying to sell Bender in the summer, so they don't want him. He doesn't want him. There's no other keeper here. We usually have too many keepers, which is quite funny. Obviously, Norton was only there because of injury, but centre back is the area that we strengthened, so one of them would have dropped out. Congreve is the one that we're expecting to break through this season. Fair enough. Felton, the only other first-team midfielder essentially that can rotate into 2 slots. Because if not, Champ's starting because Patterson's out. Refresh. Ollie Cooper, like you said, first league appearance of the season, been reluctant to bring him on up until now. I would like to see more of him integrated into the squad, but why has Martin not used him up until this point? Maybe we'll see more of him going forward. Liam Cullen, I don't think he's maybe one appearance in the league he's had. Blackpool, I want to say.
Yeah, I think so. He come off the bench.
And then Joshua Thomas comes onto the bench.
Yeah.
So if there's one more injury, like Patterson don't come back, say I don't know, Kyle Norton's injury was more serious, so he couldn't be on the bench. Who's on there then? There's no one there.
Yeah.
There's literally no one there. And I didn't it's only hit me now if we were in the season and you see in it. Do you know what I mean? With the teams not playing well, and another part of it is the fact that you can't even drop Perot. You can't drop him. I mean, you can play with Liam Cullen, but because of the way he's playing with, I guess, Obafemi ahead of Perot, you can't put Cullen there. And he did last season a couple of times, and Cullen got slated. You could start Congreve, I guess, but then you're like, well, why are you starting Congreve over Perot? How can you do that? He literally has no options. And I think he was asked in the interview about this. Actually, the interviewer was pushing him on the squad depth. I think trying to maybe get him to bite a bit more at the owners. So that's what I mean. He didn't actually throw them under the bus. But he did say something about the interview was like, oh, you haven't really got much anyone forward potential on the bench in terms of someone that's got a good record in the past. And he was like, yeah, no, we haven't. So it's hard.
I know what you're saying. I do know. I like I said, I'm never going to defend what the owners do, but it just I don't know. I just think when I look across the league, I think, like you said, nobody's spending money. Everybody's got to be smart. Everybody's got to be clever with their transfer window, and I just feel that we might have missed the boat on this transfer window. Unless I still think Perot is going to go. By the way. I still think if Perot goes for 15 million, and that means that we can bring in maybe 2 or 3 players by the end of the window, I don't might not be a bad idea. But again, my only issue is I know what people are saying about the squad depth. I know, but it seems to have been the case since we've come down with Potter and Cooper. I think we've always had a squad depth issue, always. And I just think this time, maybe Russell Martin's not handling it as well as the others did. I think that is a factor. And I'm not going to just slate Russell Martin constantly and blame it all, because obviously we know we've got a problem with the squad. But I just think the way the club has been run, we're always asking a manager to do more, with the players that they've got. And that'll just always be the case, because we are that type of club. I think we're never, like you said, we're never going to generate millions of players and millions of pounds to spend on players. It's not going to happen. It's never going to happen. We're never going to get ourselves into debt, because we've done that previously. We're never going to just do the level spend. And the only time we've ever spent money massively was the last season in the Premiership, and when we got relegated. That was the only time we absolutely splurted out on money. But I just think, looking at it yesterday, for example, you can make all the excuses behind the scenes as you want, but that squad there is good enough to beat Luton at home, and they were completely outcoached and outmanaged.
Yeah, but don't knock Luton though. They did get to the playoffs last year.
No, they did. They had a solid. They had a solid.
I'm not
side,
saying they should have beaten us yesterday, but I think we should still respect the opposition in a way.
Oh, I am respecting the opposition, but they brought on 35-year-old Cameron Jerome, off the bench, and he was looking dangerous. I think man for man, we've got a better squad than Luton. There's no disrespect to them. They got to the playoffs, like I said. But they are the same. When do you ever see Luton spending money? They never spend money. They've got Nathan Jones, who's a good manager, and gets the best out of his squad. And that's how most teams have got to compete.
This season, funnily enough.
They bought Coley Woodrow, didn't they?
Yeah, but like when I did the preview, like the guy was saying, like they literally never spend money, and the fact that they spend money this year, they all like sort of expectations raised straight away, but they have had a really bad start of the season. So anyway,
yeah, but exactly as I'm saying, like no club in the Championship has to spend money. There is a lot of teams in there. There is a lot of teams in that league who have to work within their budget. They have to, because it's just the way it is at the moment as well. You see, no clubs are spending money.
Yeah, so Luton, just for reference, they did buy. They bought a goalkeeper. They bought Carlton Morris for they spent money, but they spent the Harry Darlin fee on a striker.
Yeah,
but then they bought in a couple of frees. I don't know if Woodrow was
free, was he?
It's got question marks. I don't know. It
could be undisclosed, probably. Yeah.
You never know how much they've actually spent when they do that to you, so it's hard to say. But regardless, I know, you can't necessarily blame. You should be doing better in general, but I do feel sorry for him as well because he has got like one hand tied behind his back in a way, and it was always going to happen at some point. We were always overachieving, and we said this for a while. We've always got good managers and got lucky with our managers. And, just look at Potter and Cooper now. They're both in the Premier League doing quite well.
Yeah.
One day we were going to get a manager that isn't quite there yet in terms of where they were. And to be fair, out of the three of them, I think you could argue Russell Martin was the least experienced because, they were all young. But Potter started young and worked his way up in Sweden or whatever it was. A bit unknown, but, got his experience there and it transferred over. And his year here was his kind of like experience year in English football before he's got a good move to Brighton and doing quite well there. Cooper, he made his name in England age grade, a couple of coaching roles and stuff like that. So he's been around the sort of systems and bigger managers and learning and all the rest of it. Again, quite young and comes in, takes his first team role with us, but has kind of already got experience, got links to kind of like work with and learn from. And he made mistakes, don't get me wrong, but now he's doing quite well at Nottingham Forest. And the turnaround that he did there last season, and look how much money he's spending now in the Premier League as well, by the way. So you can understand why he kind of went last year. But Martin, he was only manager of MK Dons because they kind of had a bit of trouble, and he stepped up from a playing role, didn't he? Kind of like Gary Monk.
It was.
Yeah. So he's learning on a job in a way, and he'd done quite well, obviously, at MK Dons. Did okay, especially the second season. I think it took him half a year to get going, in his second season at MK Dons. I'm not saying that's what we should be giving him, by the way. I'm just saying that's like a trend, potentially. But he's still quite inexperienced, really. Whether that's like man management, tactics, game management. We have got an inexperienced manager, and out of the last three, this one obviously is maybe not as good as the other two. And that's kind of how it is at the moment.
Yeah, but that's the issue, isn't it? Like he's just maybe. Well, I don't know. I still can't say for sure that he's not going to say he's not a good manager because I think he is. But like you said, and we've said previously about if we don't get it right with the manager, we're going to be in trouble. So that, like I said, that is on the owners. Like they've got to go at some point. So I just want to make it clear though, I'm not defending them at all. I just got to say it a couple of times, not defending them at all. And like I said, if we get the manager situation wrong, then we are going to be in trouble. And this is where I'm on the fence. Have we got the manager wrong now? And I don't know that. I don't know the answer to that question yet. I guess we'll only know in time to come.
But at the moment, we're kind of like so far in that if we did get rid of him, we might even just make it worse.
But I exactly. I don't know who's out there who can replace him. I'm not saying we need to sack him yet. He's got to stay there. He's got to stay there now and see this through. I think, for a while at least, anyway, unless it gets terribly worse, where his position becomes impossible for him to stay. But I don't think we're there yet. I mean, it's the start of the season. We still got a long way to go. We might turn it around. They might start picking up results here and there. We don't know. But my only issue is, I think I looked at it earlier, and I think we were 10th in championship spending this year. I think we were in the top 10 for championship spending, not net spend, obviously, because Flynn Downs is gone. But just on spending alone, I think we were 10th in out of all the teams. And obviously, you've got your parachute payment teams at the top, and we're just in the bracket with everybody else. But out of them teams, we were like near the top of the spending.
At the start of the season, we might be lower down now because we haven't touched the market since the game started, have we? And a couple of clubs have.
No, that was earlier. That was today. I looked.
Was it?
We were. Yeah, that was.
Yeah, okay. But this is what I was saying about like the decision making and who's decided where the funds are going, because we've spent it all on like less, whereas all them clubs, you got to remember that net spend figure is kind of a bit of a not misconception, but like it doesn't tell you the full picture, because people see it as transfer spend and that's what you've spent in the summer. However, your wages and any sort of player signing on fees and agent fees, it's all going to come under the kitty for the summer. Like, it will all be in the same bracket. Yeah. So they'll have a certain amount of like, and that's why they decide if you can offer more or less wages and stuff like that. All these other teams have signed perhaps more players on free transfers. That 2 million that we spent on Harry Darling has gone on more players' wages and signing on fees, whereas obviously we spent 2 million on just the player and then his wages and signing on fees. So it doesn't tell you the full picture in terms of how much clubs are spending, because they don't add those figures in.
Yeah.
But in terms of just transfer spend, but then again, like I said, we've signed probably less players than most clubs in terms of incoming players this season.
Yeah, but that was the decision they made. Like Darling
yeah, exactly. So that's what I'm questioning, is who's making that decision.
Well, Darling is definitely a Russell Martin signing from MK Dons, as is Fisher, as is Sorinola. They are players that he obviously wanted, and this is where I come back to it, where you look at Potter and Cooper, and they are obviously clearly better managers, because they're good coaches in the sense that they get out of a squad what they've got. They get the most out of the squad they've got. So I am struggling to defend Russell Martin as well. I do blame the owners, but I am struggling to defend him as well at the moment, because like that performance Saturday, it was awful. With the players he's got, we should be doing better. End of. I think we've got a squad that can be finished mid-table in the Championship, and we've just looked way out of sorts. And that's the worrying thing, because if we were playing well, you could see with, say, like Cooper and Potter, you're looking at them and you think, we're playing so well. If we just had that extra 2 or 3 players with a little bit of quality, we'd be up the top end of the table. Now, can I say for sure that if the owners gave Russell Martin money now and got him a wing back and another midfielder, would we be up the table? I can't say for sure.
Yeah, I guess not 100%. I think it's more than just a wing back and another midfielder. But when I was saying about comparing the managers, that like, I'm not saying Russell Martin's a bad manager either, but I think being a manager, especially at Swansea at the moment, it's more than just being a football manager. You're managing kind of politics in a way, and no budget, and bringing through youth and the owners and all the stuff that comes with that. And maybe he just can't handle all of it together, and it's having an impact. And that's why you're in these weird press conferences and the way that he's speaking now, and you don't know what that sort of thing filters through to the camp, maybe, and the players, and what the attitude is there. Anyway, so maybe he's just not as good at handling that as them. Whereas the other two, they did it, proved they could do it, and then when they knew they needed to go and they could go, they just went, because why would you stay here longer than you need to when there's all these problems?
Yeah, but like we haven't won a home game since April.
Well, yeah, I know it is a big problem. But let's have a look at the squads anyway while I got them up, because I've had them up for a while. But so this is Potter's oh, these are the transfers. I want to look at the squads. This is Potter's squad, yeah. And what I'm trying to do here is just say, like, I think maybe we forget how good the players they had were. Just to compare to what we got now, I'm not disagreeing that the players that we got now, I think our first team is good enough, like you said, to be mid-table. But this is what these guys had to work with. And then you can kind of see how much it's got decimated to the point where we are now. Because I know you've said, like you said earlier, for a while, about the sales every transfer window, they're slowly whittling the squad down. Going to be left with nothing. Can't rely on loans forever.
Yep.
Positive signs where we weren't going to rely on loans anymore this season. And now I think I'm desperate for a couple of loan signings. So anyway, so this is the squad. So I know some of these guys actually didn't play. This is not the squad, is it? This is the squad. Wrong tab again. So like you had the likes of Mike van der Hoorn, obviously was still there, Joe Rodo and Connor Roberts in the defence. We started the season with Martin Olsen. I know he got injured, but we started the season with him. I think even Federico Fernandez played first game, didn't he? That was
yeah.
Midfield, we had Fur again. I know he got injured like halfway through the season or whatever it was. Byers had his breakthrough year. We had obviously Grimes. He started left back, but got back into the midfield and kind of stamped his authority. Felton, probably his best season or one of. Barry McKay had a decent debut and then fell off a cliff.
Yeah.
But up front, like I know he never used him, but he still had like the likes of Narsin and Montero, which I can't see Montero here, but he was there.
Yeah, Montero was there.
They signed Tesoro, didn't they? But like, that's the squad. I think the squad here. Would you say the squad here is better or worse?
It's definitely better. You were like Fur in midfield, and I think it was a better squad, like for like. But I think just in terms of context of the championship, I think we said to you last couple of years, like I think the championship's been strong, but over the last 2 seasons, I think the championship's been quite poor.
Yeah. And that's why our squad right now.
I don't think teams can
is mid-table because if our squad right now was in this season, probably talking over you, the lag. Sorry, I don't think our squad this season finishes mid-table in this season, if that makes sense. So our current squad wouldn't finish mid-table in the season we had this squad.
No.
And that says a lot to me in terms of
because there was still so much quality in the league at that time.
Yeah. There's a couple of quality teams now, but not as many.
I think I'm lagging a bit.
Yeah, probably. I'll just keep talking. Just chip in when you can, maybe. Technical difficulties and all the rest of it. Anyway, we'll go on to the next season under Steve Cooper. Obviously, he brought in Geehee, Bidwell, Wilmot on loan. We got him back. Looking at Cooper's squad now. So we've got Geehee, Bidwell, Cabango started making appearances. We had Wilmot, Van der Hoorn still there. So the defence, I think, probably one of our strongest since we were in the championship in Cooper's first season year.
Yeah.
In midfield, Selina obviously got brought in. I'm lying. He got brought in under Potter, but he's still there. Conor Gallagher halfway through the season. I don't think there's much more in midfield. But then he brought back Andre Ayew into the squad. We brought in Ryan Brewster. Like, again, a much stronger team than what we got now, and a couple of options, because even, say you're starting with Andre Ayew, you've got Wayne Routledge that can come in. I know he was old, but experienced at the time. He obviously signed Kalulu, didn't make a massive impact. Brewster was like flying when we brought him in. We did have someone. We had Borja Baston, didn't we, in the first half of the season? He's obviously
he played a little bit, didn't he? Yeah,
but he scored 8 goals. It's not like he didn't have an impact.
He was brilliant at that start of the season. Yeah.
And then Cooper's second season. Obviously, each time we're losing a player or two, aren't we? Essentially.
Oh yeah, they've whittled down the squad. It's been awful. Like behind the scenes, they've just every transfer window weakened that squad.
I think I changed it. 2021. Ryan Manning, I think, gets brought in here. Kieran Freeman, remember him? That was a bit of a waste.
Yeah.
Corey Smith, Jamal Lowe, Jordan Morris, Morgan Whittaker, and Paul Ariola. And we also had Morgan Gibbs-White for like 5 games, didn't we? But that's one that got away.
Yeah. What
40 million.
Yeah,
40 million.
That's mental. Could be a snip in a few years, though. You might look back and think it was a bargain.
Yeah, so I'm not necessarily saying like there's Ryan Bennett as well. So again, with a strong defence, but I guess that's Cooper, isn't it? I'm not necessarily saying that these squads they were star players. There's 1 or 2 in some of them in there. When you had Andre Ayew, for example, but I'm not saying they got like star players everywhere, littered everywhere. But I think overall, if someone gets injured or 2 people get injured, you're not that worried because there's people that can step in. Whereas now, you've got the first team and like 2 people on the bench that perhaps rotate in the first team. That's what I'm trying to say in terms of the squads. I think.
I agree. I think we haven't got strength in depth now. I just think it's all relative. Like obviously, COVID has hit in that time as well, which had a massive effect on all clubs. So I think like when you look at these squads, obviously they're better than what we've got now. But I just think in terms of like the championship, we've probably got a tidy squad with what's in the rest of the league. And I think it was probably the same then. Like I think we had a team that could sort of challenge in the league. And the managers were getting the best out of them. I just think it is worrying. It is worrying because the squad we've got now is it is thin. But
I don't have a question that I've just thought about in regards to this though. So you said about COVID hitting and all the rest of it, and yeah, that's fair. Maybe this screen would be better to look at this one actually. Last summer, after Russell Martin came in, actually a couple of players before he came in, but then ultimately after he came in, we actually signed quite a few players last season. Yeah?
Yeah, exactly.
So actually, it was the one you sent me now, this one. Let's have a look at this. So we can see the ins and outs on this screen for each season. It's 21-22. We made less money last season with our sales. Bearing in mind, we sold Connor Roberts and we sold Jamal Lowe. That's where most of our funds came from last year. We questioned the fees. Maybe that's coming back to haunt us now. Maybe that's part of the problem. But last season, 4 million, we spent 5. Yeah. We bought quite well, I think, last summer. We brought in Obafemi, Downs, Pirot, and Cham, Patterson. Walsh didn't work, but should have. I think, you're not going to get him all right. I think it was worth the risk on Walsh. Better, bit of a weird one. Reece Williams on loan from Liverpool. Again, it's not an awful thing to do. Led, that was a good loan. Christie, a good loan. Wolf, Finley Burns came in after Williams went. That's a lot of first team players we signed that were in and around the first team. Do you know what I'm trying to say there?
Yeah.
This season, we've made 9.5 from Flynn Down sale. Only spent 2, but got no money left.
Yeah, I know. Well, we know the issue with the money though that we're spending.
Yeah, but like what I'm saying, how can they say how can they say we got no money now? But last year we sold less. We didn't have parachutes last year.
Yeah, but before that, we've got big fees from Dan James, McBurney, and Rodon.
They wouldn't have been still collecting those by that point, surely.
No, but I mean, like they brought in a lot of money there. They're not investing. We know they're not investing in. So I think they're not investing the money in.
It just seems weird how last year it was the first year after the parachutes. I thought it would have been harder. Do you know what I mean? We're kind of stabilizing now. It's not even. I'm not asking to spend more than what we're selling. We did hear whatever. It's nice that we did that, but I wasn't expecting that. And a lot of these guys were free transfers and loan transfers, and that's fine. How can we then go and raise 9.5 million and only spend 2? I didn't realize that we were like in the red a little bit, that much anyway, that we had to do that this season. I know we've done it in the past quite a few times. Obviously, Cooper's second season was 14.5 million sales to 1 million spend. His first season, 35 million sales. Sorry, that's Potter's season, is it? Oh no, it is Cooper's. Ollie McBurney and Dan James leaving. Potter's season was the worst, which was, I guess, understandable being the year we got relegated, but 46 million to 6 million spent. I understand all that. We've spoken about in the past. I'm just confused how last year can be quite equal and this year's such a difference again. Because COVID was last year, like, the main impact.
Yeah.
But we spent last summer. Martin comes in, he backs him. Cooper went because he wasn't getting back in, and all of a sudden Martin comes in and the money's come in.
Yeah. No, I know. I think, like, to the way we know this, it was said about the owners or the way they run the club, it is a bit frightening that they say it now that we haven't got money to spend when, you know, we've made the money from that. But what are Joe Allen's wages? If they've sold Flynn Downs and brought in Joe Allen to replace him, what are his wages like?
I don't know. We'll see.
It could be a factor.
We'll see when Football Manager comes out in a couple of months.
Yeah, that might explain why. Obviously, the figures you've just shown there, that might. But I agree with you. I think they haven't backed. But if you go back to the other screen, I think over the 2 seasons that Martin has been here, you know, bringing in Obafemi, Perot,
you can't come
Patterson.
Perot, to be fair.
Why?
He came before Martin.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, he was given to him. Like when he arrived, Perot was signed that year.
But what I mean, it's not.
So was Obafemi, so was Patterson,
signing.
and Cham.
Yeah, and Cham was. I would say take out Walsh and Perot because they were technically Coopers, even though he'd basically gone. The others are Martin.
Yeah, but Perot was 20-goal striker last year.
Not Walsh, sorry, Joseph. It was Joseph and Perot, wasn't it? Yeah. I know he was, but what I'm saying, I'm just saying, like, they're not Martin signings, so they're obviously the club signings, and he's done well.
Yeah, well, even so, like, if the club didn't make those signings, I mean, he was gifted Obafemi and Perot last year, and they were brilliant.
Yeah.
So I mean, he had them waiting for him. Patterson's come in, and Cham's come in, Darling's come in, Fisher's come in. Downs came in and out, and Allen's come in. So I don't know. I just have a funny position at the moment where I think the owners are the owners. I'm upset with them, but I'm also a little bit worried about Martin as well. So I'm in a funny position.
Yeah, the only reason I'm highlighting most of the transfer stuff is because we're not playing well at the moment. But like I said earlier, we don't have any options, so he's kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. He's got to get something out of these guys. You know, you can't go and do the standard, well, I'm going to drop you this week sort of thing with most of them. You can't even drop Sorinola. We've said he's rubbish. Or not, I don't want to use that word. We said he hasn't really done great since he's come in. But you can't drop him. You literally haven't got anyone. No,
but then again, like, he's insisting on playing wing backs. Fair enough if that's your system, you're playing wing backs. Why is he, or I don't know if it's him or whoever's making the decision, why have they got rid of all the far wide attacking players like Garrick?
Yeah.
Why get rid of him?
Yeah, that's a fair criticism. That doesn't make sense to me.
I don't get it. Because I just think as well. I know it seems like I'm just dumping on Martin, but it's not all that. But I'm just saying, like Saturday, I feel like it seemed to me that the pressure got to him for the first time when he went to the back four at half time, and.
Did he actually go back 4 half time then?
Yeah, he went to a back 4 half time and pushed. He pushed Manning.
Came on the right, did he?
Yeah, Norton came on. Norton came on a left back. I'm just trying to think now. I pushed one of them, and Cham went to left wing, and Manning went to right wing. Or Sorinola. Manning and Sorinola were both on the right. One of them was the winger, and one of them was the right back.
Didn't he? At one point, he went back over to the right, or Manning went back over to the left.
Yeah, well, I know when Cham was playing left wing, and then it was either Sorinola playing left wing. I can't remember now, and Manning right back, or the other way round.
It's probably Manning left, Norton right, Sorinola right wing, was it?
Well, but even we're having this discussion says.
Yeah, exactly.
With the fact that we're having this discussion says that it was a panic, and that was the first time that the pressure it seemed like the pressure was getting to him that he was forced into making that change. Having been so persistent with his system before,
And
he's reluctant.
To be fair, Norton was apparently only meant to play 20 minutes with his injury.
Exactly. And he went to a back four and played with wingers, but we haven't got wingers, and he got rid of all our wide players.
I'd even have Barry McKay in the squad right now, I'm not going to lie.
Do you know what I mean, though? Like, he's gone to a back four and we got no wide players to play. It just seems like nobody knows what they're doing at the moment. I am.
Yeah, but this is what I'm saying. So there seems like there's no direction from the club. They kind of like back Martin's style, but then they're not back in Martin's style. But who are they? Like, it actually knows making decisions. But then you had the head of recruitment, Andy Scott. He left a couple of months ago, didn't he? So
I don't know what happened there either. Yeah,
he hasn't made any impact so far, but I guess maybe it's too early to judge him. But then you got like Ogbet. I didn't actually think of this. I've been moaning about the depth and the fact that Josh Thomas had to come onto the bench. Where's Ogbeta? Like, if Laftabodi is getting injured, why can't he come in?
Yeah,
was he that bad against Oxford?
I don't know, but he made. We said this before, didn't we? He made a comment before. He said like something about him not being ready, or basically something like, I'm not putting him in under pressure. Basically saying he's not good enough. Essentially, in a roundabout way.
You haven't got anything else. Like,
so I don't know.
You're saying you've got nothing else.
Exactly.
And you've got to make these guys ready. Then sometimes you just need to put them in, don't you? Don't really know what else to...
Yeah.
I don't know. That's what I mean. I feel like the way that they've been playing, like, what he should be doing in the next game is dropping like 4 players to make a statement, but I just don't think he can. So you persist him with the same. There's no punishment for having a bad game. There's no punishment for Joel Perreault being off the pace since the start of the season. There's Cham, like, he had that one good game that we did give him credit for, but they've gone back to doing nothing.
Yeah, I know what you mean. And then they just guaranteed to play next week.
Or am I missing the point there?
No. Nobody did anything against Luton. Nothing at all.
Sorinola has come in and he struggled. So why is there no one else?
Yeah.
And to be fair, like I said, the reporter asked Martin about competition. He said, "You haven't got much competition for places." Martin's words were, "Well, it's up to us to create competition."
Yeah.
So what are you going to create it with? Because if you're not going to like play Ogbeta when one of your wing backs, who's not even a wing back in the first place, can't even play.
Yeah, I know. I know. I agree with you, and that is the worrying thing. But I fully expected, and I still will be gutted if it happens. But I've been expecting Perreault to go this window, and I still think he will. Even now they've said they need to sell someone, for someone else to come in.
He spoke about that in the press, didn't he, in the conference?
But I'm sure someone, I could be wrong, but I'm sure someone said now that Downs had gone that we didn't need to sell.
Well, I don't think we need
I don't know if I'm making that up, but
we don't need to sell him, but we need to sell him to get more players in. That's what it's, we don't need to sell him right now for the current shape of the club, but if we want other players in, then someone's got to go. So Downs paid for the ones we got.
And I still think he will.
Essentially. And I guess maybe it looks like half the wages for the year because the rest of the money's not being spent. That must be what it is. I know I was questioning it earlier. I just found it weird compared to last year. And maybe last year the difference was Andre Ayew's wage packet was gone. I don't know. But yeah, I'm just, like I said, not trying to fully blame the owners, just trying to raise the points, look at the big picture. I think I'm half and half blaming both. I think Martin's not doing his best he can
I agree.
with the players he's got. Maybe he's a bit too stubborn to like, Steve Cooper, what he was good at and why he was successful here and why we got to the playoff twice was because he looked at the players that he had and made a system that did the best for the players that we had and the style. And if it meant we had to defend 1-0 leads, that's what we had to do. And if it meant we had to rely on the likes of Andre Ayew and Jamal Lowe to have a moment of brilliance in like 75% of the games, and then build a really good foundation to see it out, and it works, then it works. And he done well doing that. But people got frustrated because they didn't want to watch boring football and defending all the time and 1-0 leads. But you got and there was games last season anymore, but under Cooper, where you'd go on Twitter and people would be like, "Oh, I've never seen a game where there's no passion like this. I've never seen the players so lethargic and don't care for the club." Yet they finished in the playoffs twice in a row. Now you're seeing the same comments, but the situation's far worse. So maybe that should just put into perspective in future when you've got something that's working, rather than like you always want more, essentially. Yeah, everyone always wants more. You're never going to win every game in the Championship unless, we are not a club like Norwich or all the ones that got relegated the last couple of years. Maybe if they're here for another 5 years, they'll be in the same boat as us. But we aren't them right now, so we can't go and buy these players and play the way they're playing. So when Cooper's doing well, should have appreciated him more, really.
Yeah. Well, we said this. We had to come on, and we always had to defend him, didn't we? We said that we were winning games, and that's what we had to do, and that was the style of football we're playing. Be careful what you wish for. But look at him when he went to Forest. Then, he was playing good football. The times where they're playing really good football.
Yeah, exactly. And people will say to this video and to what I've just said, but he didn't compose himself in the right way. In the end of that season, the playoff final was awful, blah, 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 rather than have him in the club, rather than all this stuff. Do you actually blame him for the way that he ended? Yeah, I don't. I'd be doing exactly the same. And he's in a much better place now, so good on him.
Yeah.
Well done. You've done what you needed to do down here. The owners didn't back you enough. If they got you that striker, you would have been in the Premier League with Swansea. That's the bottom line. They didn't get you that striker, so he's annoyed.
And that's the blame. That's the blame on the owners. I think it's the same with Potter as well. If we could have backed him, if we could have backed Cooper or Potter, we'd be back in the Premier League. I think
they didn't want to reassure Potter that they weren't going to sell McBurney, did they? I think.
No, exactly. No, and that's why he left.
He was like, all right, it's all right.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's where it comes down with the owners. But I think now it's all coming home to roost. I think at the moment we haven't got a squad to work with, and we haven't got a manager that can build the squad up.
Yeah. And the problem is, like I said earlier, alluded to, if Martin goes, what do you do? You're going to have to get someone in that's going to play passing football, because that's kind of what you've been building. Unlikely you're going to get somebody now that's going to be, I don't know, who do you get in to do that? And then if you go and get someone in that's just right, save our season, that's short-term thinking again. And you've got no money to build in our manager's way. You've got you've just got to do the best of what you've got as well, sort of situation. So is it better to stick or twist? Maybe Martin will come good if you give him more time. I don't know what you do.
This is it. We're in a real pick. That's the real pickle at the moment with us. That's really worrying, because I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I honestly don't know where we go forward from here.
Because ultimately he is right as well, right? If I'm not this is not saying this is necessarily my opinion, right? But let's just play devil's advocate and look at both sides of the camp. Russell Martin is right in what he said in the press conference, that we are a Michael Obafemi tap in a Rotherham and defend, seeing out the 2-0 lead in injury time midweek to having a good start of the season. The facts of that are not wrong. I'm like I said, I don't agree with that necessarily, but football is a weird game, innit? You don't know how much that does for the players' confidence and the squad morale, or them not collapse into Oxford. Those three things, if they didn't happen, I know it's ifs and buts, but in another world, we would have been in a lot much better place, and maybe the squad all of a sudden is playing a lot better because of it. I know that hasn't happened, but I'm just saying maybe it could go and click next week theoretically, and I don't know what the risk is waiting for it to click or change in.
That's that. Yeah, that's it. And you're right, because again, the Millwall game 9 times out of 10 doesn't happen. We win that game and we come away and we've been brilliant, and that probably papers over the cracks again behind the scenes, which I think is what happens a lot over seasons.
Looking towards the next game, I didn't do my 3-word review. I'll do that in a minute, but looking towards the next game, I think it's time that he just freshens it up. I know we're saying he can't really make that many changes in terms of first team quality, But what arm is it right now? Just to like chuck in some of the youngsters and just see what they got. Because if you're going to be in a situation where we have to rely on them and we're going to have to use them, let's just do it. So Congreve, Cooper, some of the other ones that maybe didn't make the bench, or better, maybe just chuck them in and see what they're all about.
Yeah, I know. I don't know if you caught it anyway before it cut me off, but I was just saying like the Millwall game, 9 times out of 10 that probably doesn't happen and we win the game and Obafemi scores the tap in. But I don't like those comments coming from the manager. I think
No.
You can also flip it the other way. If Blackpool score their penalty, or in Blackpool he squares it and they go 1-0 up, we're sat here without a win.
Yeah. Shouldn't have had a penalty though.
Oh yeah, I know that, but I mean that's what it could be on paper, couldn't it? We could be sat here without a win, but and then again, like you said, the other way around, we could be sat here on way higher than we did if Obafemi scores and Millwall don't score
like
the
I
two.
said, it wasn't me agreeing with necessarily what he's saying.
I know.
To look at both sides fairly, because we have absolutely rinsed them all podcasts. No. So he's not. Well, I'm just saying, generally, if that happened, he isn't wrong, and we would be like we'd be like top of the table near in that instance if that had happened, and then all of a sudden, like I'm just wondering how much is confidence and morale, and maybe if we were living in that world with those things, you've seen a different team against Luton. Do you know what I mean? That's what I'm trying to get at. But
yeah, I get you, and I guess confidence is an all-time low after like Tuesday, probably after like what happened there.
Not even just Tuesday, after the Blackburn game as well, isn't it? Like it's the Blackburn game where it was quite negative. They had such a good start at Millwall, couldn't hold it on, and then you was calling it anxiety, wasn't he, in front of the home fans? But
that's worrying though, isn't it? That comment that he said that. But again, and we said about like 2 own goals, looked like it was panic. I don't know. We could go on all day. The bottom line is, like with Russell Martin, I think I really want him to do well. I like him. I really do. Like, I want to get behind him, but it's just like the performances have been awful. Apart from the Millwall game and a little bit in Blackpool, I think we've been awful, and that's the worry. Whereas last year I think we were a lot better than what we are now.
Yeah, which like is we went the worry. To the Reading game, didn't we? And I know we collapsed in that game, but we played well.
Oh yeah, we were unplayable for part of that game. Yeah, we were unplayable, and there were times we were unplayable last season. We were brilliant.
Is that the impact that Wolf and Christie were having though? Like that sort of performance, offering that out wide, is that what we're missing? Okay, let's try and bring it back home just to end.
Yeah.
On perhaps more of the football rather than just ranting about. Like it might. This podcast might seem so all over the place, but just trying to like. There's so many issues. It's hard to talk about it in a certain direction. Like you can go off in so many directions about ifs and buts and why is this so wrong? Why is this so wrong? What are they doing? What are the owners doing? Like
that's testament to just the position that we're in. It's just when we would beforehand trying to sort of work out how we frame this, what's going on, and it's just such a mess. Like behind the scenes, and obviously it's not going well on the pitch. And who do you blame? Obviously, we know we got the problems with the owners. It's just a really funny situation to be in. So it was a bit ranty today.
Yeah, it's all right. I'm sure everyone's feeling the same. My 3-word review, just for the continuation of it and all the rest of it. I'll tell you what I didn't sort out. Them little games we were going to play. So much happened. So many feelings after the Luton game that we forgot even what we were going to do. We'll sort it out for next week. It's okay. Hopefully we'll have a guest on next week. So Millwall false hope is what I put. And that's because obviously referring to what I said in the last podcast, if anybody watched it, I basically said like I saw enough in the Millwall game to give me hope that he could get it right and he could click and we could start going in the right direction. But unfortunately we went back to like playing more like the Blackburn game than we did the Millwall game. You know, the Millwall game, take away that last 5 minutes, is probably our best game of the season. And a good platform to build on. So that's what I was trying to get at last week. Obviously, we didn't build on it and we fell off the platform, essentially. So that's what my words are referring to. And we have discussed, obviously, a lot of that. specifics from the game that I picked up on. I thought Perot, like I said, should have scored right at the start. Could have changed the complete outlook again. I mean, you don't know, do you? But he's not in form, and that's the sort of chance you see him burying last season. And so disappointing to see the 20 goal striker that he was last year missing or not looking like getting his chances that were just flying in last year, which is frustrating. And wondering whether that, even if we sell him now, do we get as much as what we want? Because he's looking a bit off the boil.
Yeah, probably
Maybe
not.
it's having an impact on his evaluation, and that could be worry as well. Another thing I picked up on, the first goal, I thought was quite poor from Fisher. He's had a good season so far, I think. But flapped to the corner. When you punch in the corner away, I think you avoid punching it directly out, straight ahead of your goal, because you're asking for trouble. And the shot comes in, and he should have saved the shot as well. It literally went under him.
Yeah.
So ultimately, you can't blame Fisher for the fact we lost 2-0, the performance and all the rest of it. But you go in 0-0 at half time and regroup. It's just a different game again, isn't it? And you should be saving that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've already touched on Cabango for the second goal. I don't think he defends that very well. And I think I touched on the Perot header later in the game as well. That straight to the goalkeeper, probably the only save that he's making all game. Should be doing better there. I think when I was listening on the radio at that point, because I lost my stream, they said it looked like Perot thought he was offside, so it was a half-hearted effort, but the flag never went up. Okay, so where do we go from here? The next game is, I don't know if he's still early, but
Borough away,
Borough away, got a week. They are also struggling, as were Luton. We went into the Luton game a little bit more confident after Millwall, thinking, well, they've had a bad start and it's not worked out. We perhaps look a bit silly. So we got Borough away. They haven't won a game this season, as did Luton before they beat us. 2 losses and 3 draws. How do you, what do we do going up to Borough away?
I honestly don't know. I don't know where we go from here. I think you might be right. I think we do need to freshen it up a bit.
I'm going to say just do it. I bring in Cameron Congreve, Ollie Cooper, and Liam Cullen to start. I don't drop one of the midfielders though for Ollie Cooper. If he's going to persist in playing 5 at the back system, and Cham comes out for Ollie Cooper for me, you're going to have to keep. Drop Perot for Obafemi. Not Obafemi, sorry. Drop Perot for Cullen. Personally, think make a statement, and you bring in. Maybe drop Soranola and put Cameron Congreve right wing back. And when you were away, Lee, I said I'd play Ollie Cooper ahead of Cham.
Yeah.
Just bring them all in. Cullen instead
maybe
of
that's
Perot.
what we need. Maybe that's what we need. Just a bit of fresh. When Congreve came on, he did more in the first 30 seconds than anyone had done all game.
He tries to take a player on, doesn't he? Like, I know it doesn't always work, and sometimes he gets tackled, but we don't have anyone else that's trying to do that.
No, it's exactly what you need. You just need sometimes you just need that like young blood coming on, that they're hungry. I don't know, because I said they rely on intensity with the system. So bring on these players that maybe will up the tempo a little bit. But I don't know. I think they need to get something. I think every game that they don't win now is just more. It's just piling on the pressure even more. And they need something. A point. I just take a point.
Yeah. Yeah, point would be good. But I mean, it's annoying because they haven't won a game all season. So you want to go and like smell blood, but I just don't feel confident to.
I think teams are smelling blood with us at the moment. I think you look at like Luton haven't won a game and Borough haven't won a game. They probably think, well, this is the one. We know exactly how to play.
Yeah. They've actually conceded 1 more goal than us in the league this season, the highest amount in the league. We obviously joined 8th, second highest amount. But they've scored 3 more goals than us.
Yeah.
So,
but that's poor as well, though, because like Middlesbrough had high hopes of being, playoff contenders.
Yeah, so I'm sure their fans are having similar conversations to us in the disappointment of their season so far. Wilder's their manager, isn't he?
Yeah.
Maybe it's just not working out for him. Like, he had a good system at Sheffield, but sometimes it just doesn't work when you go somewhere else.
Yeah, exactly. Could be.
it'll be interesting. Another thing I want to pick off from wider championship stuff that was like Coventry. Like, what's going on there? Like, they're 3 games behind now.
It's their pitch, isn't it?
Yeah, but how long can that go on for?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what's going on there.
They'd be making up games in the World Cup now.
Well, they might have to.
Yeah. Have we got them soon? No.
I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? But like, if we're all 5 games into the season, they've played 2. That can't be good for your season.
Oh no! That's just the worst way to start, isn't it? Because are they still? They might not be match fit yet. You might need 3 or 4 games just to get it. Get into the season.
Yeah. Also, earlier on today, Cardiff lost to Bristol City.
Yeah.
At least made a weekend a little bit better. But they could have gone top if they'd won that game.
God, yeah. That would have been fun.
That.
Yeah, that would have been fun.
But instead, they're only 2 points ahead of us.
Yeah,
it just put it in context when you say that.
I know. It literally what, like we said before, though, one win can literally just change everything, can't it?
Well, we're still 1 win away from the playoffs at this point.
I know.
Mad.
But that's where it is at the start of the season.
I know ultimately everyone will play at the same time, and it probably won't be the case that we would go into that position. But on paper, we're 1 win away from playoffs. And do you know what? Actually, like, I don't think anyone's grabbing this league by the scruff. Now, I think maybe Sheffield and Watford are. But
yeah.
Blackburn have just fallen off a cliff. I did say after our game, I said,
they might have just had bit of a purple patch.
We said that we thought they were going to have a rough year, and I said I think they're going to tail off. And like, it's early days to even say that, but they lost like 3-0 to Reading, didn't they? Or Sheffield United, sorry. Or back-to-back 3-0 losses.
Yeah.
So like, they beat us 3-0 and everyone's having a meltdown. But they've actually lost 3-0 twice themselves, and one of them is Reading, who were like bookies' favourites for relegation. So, if it's drama down here because we lost 3-0 to Blackburn, well, they lost 3-0 to Reading. Could it be as bad for them?
I know.
You know what I mean? Like, it's are we jumping the gun? And I'm not saying we are. Like, I'm just asking the questions out there and putting.
No, I know. I think like it's hard because it's raw. Like, we probably, if he turns it around and then we make a playoff charge later on the season, like this podcast going to look absolutely ridiculous. But you can only judge on what you've seen so far. It's the performances of the problem. If you look at the table, I'd literally want nothing more than for him to go on a massive run.
I think we've backed him
really want him to do well.
People have, to be fair.
I really want him to do well. I like him a lot. I really want him to go on and prove everybody wrong and start playing unbelievable football and go on and win and make a playoff charge. I love that. But you can only judge on what you've seen. And it looks stupid because on paper, like you said, we're not bottom of the table with no wins. We're not, doing anything like that. But it's just the performances. The performances have been so worrying. That I know, like, we lost 2-0 yesterday, but it was so much more than that.
I just think what it seems to me quite often is first goal is the winner, or should be the winner, barring the Millwall collapse. Like, if we score the first goal, we seem to go on and like do really well. If they score the first goal, they win the game.
Yeah,
so we can't come back into it, and that's literally how it is at the moment. Our first goal is so vital, and then that's going back to Andy Fisher and that corner. If he does better there, like, it could have been much different, but like he doesn't. No, and it shouldn't be like that. And that's a bad thing, and that's a criticism. It's just like as soon as you see that first goal go in, I'm on my phone if I'm in work and I get the notification, Swans are going 1-0 down. I'm just like instantly like, oh well, on to next week.
Yeah.
Whereas when it's the other way, we do actually look like we can score a couple more until maybe the end of the game. And then it's like the other team comes at us a bit and can we hold on?
Yeah.
That's the big 2 problems.
I know. I just, I don't know. We'll see what happens on Saturday. I mean, a win now would change everything, wouldn't it?
Well, we thought that after Blackpool.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
He did say, didn't he? He said, "There's 2 games away now. Might be good for the players." People went nuts, didn't they? And
I know, but it's a bit harsh. I don't really agree with the relentless booing, but it has been that bad. The performances have been, I can't stress it enough how bad they have been. And that's the worrying thing.
Did he call out the booing?
No, I didn't. No, I didn't. But I don't know. I just think that's why it's hard to sort of have real optimism at the moment. Is that it's been so bad. It's been awful.
I do get both sides of it. Like, you want to boo because you're disappointed. You want to show your disappointment because it's been so bad.
Yeah, you've got to show it in some way.
But it never helps, I don't think.
Oh, no, I don't think it does anything to help the situation.
Concern, but ultimately, I think you're probably making the situation worse.
Yeah.
Because why are the players now going to come out and play better when all they hear is you booing them? They're not. It's like, yeah, they can hear you're not happy with them, but ultimately you've just put more pressure on them.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. It's a funny one, isn't it? Because I never boo,
Look,
never boo your own players.
Either,
but
and each to their own. I'm not saying.
But then, I can see it because if someone's got to show, sometimes you've got to show your discontent when it is that bad, and it has been that bad. And I don't know how else you do it. I don't know how else you voice it. And people pay good money to go and travel to come see the games, and when it's that
I completely understand it. I just. For me, I just think it's a downward spiral. When you start doing it, players get more nervous. They start taking less risks because they're too scared to play the football. And it's just a downward spiral. But then I don't know what the right thing to do is to voice a concern. Maybe like at the end of the game is not so bad, but half time, I think that's more, I don't know. I just don't see how it helps. It gets your message that you're not happy across. But in terms of you then want to see better, you're not going to see better. So that's just the way I see it anyway. There's enough other ways to voice your concern though. Your social media these days, to be honest. Like, I'm sure a lot of it gets seen. But anyway, we'll wrap up here. It's been a little bit longer than perhaps expected, but we did obviously have quite a few technical difficulties. I'll try and get editing some of it out, but if there's a couple of clips in from it, if it doesn't make sense with the edits, then I do apologize. Obviously, just something that happens sometimes with technology, if it didn't disrupt the rhythm, although I don't know how much rhythm there was to the discussion tonight.
Yeah, but
I hope that it's been, at least interesting to listen to, and we'd like to hear everyone else's opinions on the situation. Do you think, I know a lot of people are not happy with the performances, not happy with Martin, but do you actually want him to go right now? Or are you kind of like us, where we're in no man's land a little bit, like, well, if he goes, who comes in? Does it actually make anything better? Or is it better to stick with him and see if he can put it round? Like, what is the better case scenario? Because I really don't know the answer. But it'll be nice to hear other people's comments on that in the comments below.
Yeah, I think just to wrap it up, because I don't know how much you got of my rant with all my technical problems.
I think we'll have it. I might keep some of the dropouts in. It depends.
Yeah, I think just overall feeling just frustrated and a little bit worried. I'm, the owners are rightly getting criticism. I think long term we do need to get rid of them somehow. And that's just going to be the feeling forever. But I also think that I'm worried about some of the performances under Russell Martin. But I also want to be optimistic that he can turn it around, but I'm just not seeing any of the signs of it at the moment. And the problem is I don't think sacking him is the option either. So I don't know. Bit of a mess at the moment. Real mess at the club.
I don't know. Like, it's a lot of people buying football clubs these days. Why can't they just want to buy us? Surely we're cheap now.
Yeah, I know. You think so.
There's no one left to add value.
Somehow, if there's any millionaire or billionaire tycoon watching this podcast, watching this 1 hour 26 in, and they've made it to the end, just please buy the club.
But what's the goal for the current owners? Like, they obviously are not going to make money now. They don't show any intentions of getting back into a position where they'll be able to sell for a profit.
I know, that's it. I don't get it. I don't know what their intention. If their intention is to get back to the Premier League, you got to put a little bit of money in, to give us that push to get up there. But then you can't sort of just strip the club and not buy players, because you'll end up going down even further. Yeah,
I don't get it. I don't understand. But then I guess
Or
a lot
maybe,
of things happen in business that you don't understand about. So maybe there's something.
well, hopefully they're just taking. Oh, that's what I didn't mention. I should have mentioned earlier on. I read, I think it was Planet Swans on the forum, that there was like a rumor that the club was paying like consultancy fees overseas. So whether that's just paying some businessmen in the owners, what do you call it, like they're like sort of hedge fund, and they. So whether that's just paying some people in there, I don't know what we're getting consultancy for.
Consultancy fees for you
Yeah.
mean the same way
Yeah.
that the government pays for PPE and
Yeah.
NHS app
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I can consult you on a transfer, but
Yeah.
it will cost you like 10 million. But I will get you an asset.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, but that's worrying, isn't it?
Oh well.
So
yeah,
the longer the problem is, the longer those owners are there, I think there's only one way we can go. There's only one way we can go, I think, which is the worrying factor. But there we go.
Yeah, I feel like we've used a lot of our good luck and with finding good managers with Cooper, Potter, some of their bargain loan deals, transfers. They done well, didn't they? It was never going to be every season.
No, and that's why it's 50-50, isn't it? Because we know how bad the owners are, but then I think, like Martin as a squad, they should be performing better than it is. So I don't know.
Yeah,
ask me again next week.
We'll wrap it up now, but it's been a long one. Thanks for listening. If you are still here, leave a comment, let us know your thoughts. Don't forget to subscribe to keep up to date and like the video. Helps us reach more Swans fans, and perhaps they can rant with us as well and make their weekend more enjoyable. But we shall see you in the next video. Thank you very much for listening, and catch you again.
See you soon.